How's it going, everyone? The sixth training camp practice for the Packers has ended, and it was a pretty good practice on both fronts. And we have a bit more to unpack today because there were actually the start of one-on-one drills for the Packers. So for the weather today, it was kind of like a cloudy day from what it looks like, but it wasn't a bad day. It was actually a pretty good day, so no weather elements to contend with during this practice. As on the injury front, we still have Ketan Oladapo, who's out, Marshawn Lloyd, Robert Rochelle is still out, and also Tucker Kraft. Now, we did have three players also join this injury list, and that's defensive lineman Deslin Alexandri, defensive lineman Keyshawn Banks, and safety Zane Anderson. So they were not at practice today. But Josh Myers did come back after his past couple of days of missing. With a personal matter, he's back in the lineup today. Now, as for the starting lineup, interesting enough, the people that are there didn't really tweet out the starting lineup like they usually do across the board. So we can assume that Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love are over there starting at halfback and quarterback respectively. Not sure about the receiver position though and who got the start. There were a lot of tweets about Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. So we could probably kind of assume that they got a lot of good reps with the number one team, as they should. But for the offensive linemen, we do have, and this is something we're actually kind of, watching more strictly on because this is an area of competition. We know that Rasheed Walker was at left tackle, Sean Ryan at left guard, Josh Myers at center, Jordan Morgan at right guard, and just for the walkthrough part, Zach Tom was at right tackle, with then Kadeem Telford getting the reps at right tackle, with Andre Dillard kind of subbing in at times. Jenkins was not in the lineup. He actually had a vet rest today, so he kind of participated in some things, but really he was resting for the day. But no real concern, or kind of just giving him his rest like usual. And then at tight end, we can pretty much assume that Luke Musgrave was the number one tight end with Ben Sims behind him, considering Tucker Kraft is still out as well. So as usual, starting with the offense, how did they do? Well, they kind of had an up and down day. Now still a significant improvement with Jordan Love coming into being QB1 after the contract extension. So definitely signs of life and waking up. As for Sean Clifford, terrible day once again. He's thrown 2 picks in this practice, and I've lost track of how many picks he's thrown, but I'm pretty sure he's thrown a pick in every practice thus far. And his training camp continues to be abysmal. While Michael Pratt has shown some flashes, had a decent day at training camp, was able to move the ball, and actually didn't throw a pick. So as of right now, it seems like Michael Pratt's kind of winning the competition at QB2, considering how many picks and bad decisions Sean Clifford is currently doing over here at practice. So for the day, Jordan Love, we had someone actually able to track all the passes. He finished the day 9 of 16, and he also threw a pick for the day. And I'm just going to read word for word from this excerpt to give you an idea of what happened with Jordan Love and the rest of the offense with number ones of how their day was going. So starting off first, Love's first 2 passes were closer to interceptions by Jair Alexander and Xavier McKinney than they were completions to Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson. So once again, kind of starting off slow, but second day of practice, still trying to get some of the rust off, and this is why players should practice. Then it continues on. There were some high quality throws though. He found Wicks over the middle against Eric Stokes for a big catch and run completion. Moments later, he delivered a dart to Grant DeBose on a deep in-breaking route for a gain of at least 20 yards. Wicks couldn't quite pull in a big-time throw towards the sideline. A tough grader would have given Wicks a drop, but the ball was perfectly thrown considering the coverage. And that's pretty much the sentiment across a lot of people, that during this specific play, that it was a perfectly thrown ball in a very tight window, and he was able to throw it to only where Wicks could catch the ball, and unfortunately he didn't come down with it. Now moving on to the 2-minute drill portion, but staying on the offensive side, the first team, second team, and third team all participated in the drill. So for the first team with Jordan Love, something to kind of note with this lineup, on the offensive lineman side at right guard, Jordan Morgan was actually subbed out, and Royce Newman played right guard for this particular portion. But for this portion, for the 2-minute drill, Jordan Love was able to kind of drive down the field, but unfortunately on 4th and 2, threw to Luke Musgrave on an ad-lib play towards the sideline. Musgrave stopped, and it was an incomplete pass. So unfortunately, the first team did not complete the 2-minute drill and wasn't able to score of any type. As for the second team, Sean Clifford threw a pick on the first play to Evan Williams. Abysmal start. Ended it right there. So Sean Clifford, once again, terrible. And the second team did nothing on offense. Then with the third team for Michael Pratt, he was able to drive down the field decently and get the team into scoring position to kick a field goal. Now, the field goal was fine to score and allow the offense to win as they were down by 2. Now, over on the defensive side, same deal. They didn't really go through line by line of who started, but we can get a good idea because they did mention 2 players that were in key battle positions. So at safety, Xavier McKinney was most likely starting, and it was stated that Anthony Johnson Jr. got the start opposite of McKinney, so he was pretty much the starter for this go around. Over at the outside cornerbacks, he still had Jair Alexander and also Eric Stokes. Carrington Valentine still really not getting reps over there opposite of Jair. Then at slot corner, you had Keyshawn Nixon with sometimes Kalen King subbing in and getting some reps with the number 1s at least. Then over at linebacker, it was stated that Isaiah McDuffie was the starting nickel linebacker opposite of Quay Walker, but Adrian Cooper is still rotating in and getting a lot more reps with the number 1, so definitely a big battle over there, trying to figure out who's the second nickel linebacker between McDuffie and Adrian Cooper. Then over on the defensive line, it doesn't sound like there was really any change. Did no one mention anything? So you had Preston Smith most likely and Rashawn Gary, then Kenny Clark, and most likely TJ Slayton with some Devontae Wyatt subbing in also. So with the defense starting on the back end, pretty much with the cornerbacks, the couple cornerbacks made some plays. I mentioned earlier, Jair Alexander had a near interception on Jordan Love. Then with the other corners outside of Jair and also Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine, he hasn't really had a fair shake at the starting job, but he was in there for a couple of pass breakups and is still continuing to make a lot of plays in training camp. Then Kalen King, the sub-in slot corner for the Packers, he made probably the biggest play of the day, and where he was able to pick off Jordan Love over the middle to a ball that was supposed to go to Christian Watson. It almost could have been a pick 6, but they allowed them to kind of run, and Jordan Love was able to cut him off. So essentially, it wouldn't have been a pick 6, but still being able to undercut, read a play, and pick off Jordan Love over the middle. Good play by the rookie and Kalen King. And then after the interception later on in practice, he also was attributed to a pass breakup. So adding to competition and having a good showing with the Packers to try to make the 53-man roster. I don't think Keyshawn Nixon's job is like in jeopardy as of right now, but it's still a good showing to try to at least make the 53-man roster with a good showing. And in staying with the slot receivers, Keyshawn Nixon was tweeted out that he made a big hit on A.J. Dillon, who was trying to break out of a tackle towards the sideline, and Keyshawn Nixon and pretty much blew him up and put him on his butt. So good tackling play by Keyshawn Nixon. Moving on to the defensive linemen. Tell me if you've heard this. Rashawn Gary, once again, another sack. He's pretty much having a sack every day, and he's just been a force to be reckoned with. Not sure who it was against, but it was attributed and called an insta sack. Then he had Lucas Van Ness, who was attributed to 2 coverage sacks, so he would have 2 sacks for the day. So good showing by LVN. Still with the number 2s, doesn't really look like they're trying to push him to the number 1 spot with Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, but still a great rotational piece. Probably could be similar to how like Ignabaria was, kind of rotating them in and keeping them fresh, and also in case of injury, of course. And as for the competition between the offense and the defense, the previous day, the offense finally woke up, got the better of the defense, and didn't have to do push-ups for once. Well, the defense came roaring back and pretty much kind of showed, hey, we're still really good. And the offense had to do push-ups this go around. So pretty much the defense has won 5 of the 6 days so far in training camp, but is split 1-1 with Jordan Love, considering that's probably the main portion that I'm going to look at is once Jordan Love came back. The previous ones where Sean Clifford was the number 1 QB, kind of hard to count those with the defense winning. Yes, they did win, but Sean Clifford's been terrible this entire training camp. So for all the serious part of the competition between Jordan Love's offense and the defense, they're split 1-1 so far. Now moving on to the special team side, we had Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph kicking today with James Turner kicking the previous day. So both Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph went 5 for 6 today. So that puts them at 16 for 18 for the entire training camp. and they both missed a pretty long field goal. I think it was like 53 yards respectively for both of them. Then James Turner for the whole training camp, he's gone 12 for 18. So once again, very far on the outside for James Turner. But Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph, 16 for 18, pretty much neck and neck. Anders Carlson has a slightly better showing considering he made all of his field goals in the torrential downpour rain, while Greg Joseph did miss one. And probably still has the lead over Greg Joseph, but Greg Joseph definitely bringing some competition to this group. And then lastly, the new addition to the videos that the Packers haven't done, the one-on-one. So Andy Herman tweeted out pretty much all the one-on-one battles and where they were. So I'm pretty much just going to read the entire tweet to kind of give a showing of, how the competitions were. So posted one-on-ones upcoming. Dontavian Wicks, he beats Keyshawn Nixon on a slant. So Wicks beats that one. Reed beats Ballantyne on a comeback. So great route. Musgrave has a drop with McKinney, so I would say McKinney wins that one. Keyshawn Nixon, Christian Watson nukes Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes falls down on and out, so it goes to Watson. Stokes needs to stop falling down, by the way. I've seen or read that a couple times so far this training camp. Don't really have the video footage to see why he's falling down, but I think he just needs to stop falling down. Moving along, sick catch by Dobbs on a comeback versus Jair. So very good job by Dobbs there. Ben Sims incomplete versus Bullard, overthrown. King, good coverage on Samori Toure, overthrown. Don't really hear much about Samori Toure. Still getting some reps. I still feel like he's on the outside looking in, honestly. Bo Melton can't come up with a diving catch on a bomb versus Ballantyne. Love completes to DeBose. He Gilbert on and out. I'm pretty sure that means versus Gilbert, and then it's just autocorrect there. Great coverage by McKinney, but nice catch by Musgrave. So apparently a good throw to Musgrave and a very good catch. Then Joel Wilson drop versus Anthony Johnson Jr. Had him beat on a corner route. So yes, Johnson Jr. did win that, but it sounds like Wilson should have had the catch. Jaden Reed comes up with a contested catch on great coverage by King. Reed a bit slow to get up, but looks okay, thank goodness. Wayne toasts Gilbert for a deep touchdown, so good job, Wayne. Gilbert still struggling, it sounds like. Keyshawn Nixon near pick versus Wicks as Wicks fell down on his cutback. Beautiful deep bomb from Love to Toure, who beat Bullard. So Toure still trying to impress and try to make this roster. Pearson catch over the middle versus Williams. Williams has had a very good training camp, but sounds like Pearson won this one. Sick route by Dobbs, who crosses Ja over for easy separation and a nice hands catch. So that's 2 for Dobbs over Jair. Starkley nukes Anthony Johnson Jr. deep, but drops a wide open TD. Not going to make the roster like that, especially got to catch those. Grant DeBose bears, I'm going to assume that's beats Ballantyne because of autocorrect. So good job, DeBose. Ballantyne sounds like he's had a slightly rough day, but still a decent day. And then Bo Melton won his route, but couldn't see versus who. So luckily on that defender, good job, Bo Melton. Bo Melton's coming and having a good showing as well as Grant DeBose. And that's where I think they might be slightly over Samori Toure, and that's where Toure is going to have a hard time making this roster the way it seems to be going. And to add on to some more one-on-one notes, Paul Brettel tweeted out some of the notable offensive linemen and defensive linemen one-on-ones. So he tweeted out that Rasheed Walker and Preston Smith split 1-1, so 1 to Walker and 1 to Smith. Jordan Morgan was 2-0 versus Devontae Wyatt, so very good showing by Jordan Morgan. Myers and Slayton split 1-1, and then 2 good reps from Colby Wooden versus Luke Tenuta. And that about sums up the 6th day of practice. A lot more to unpack. This one did run a bit longer than the previous training camp practices. The other ones were about like an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. This one went just a tad over 2 hours, and that's probably because of the one-on-one drills. Also to note, like to add that there will be no training camp for Monday, July 29th, but they will come back on the 30th for the 7th training day practice. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.